Good morning, guys. So today you are going to be working on your asynchronous assignment. So if you aren't already, you're going to go from our home screen to our modules. And you're going to scroll down to today's date, which is the 28th. And you're going to begin class today with this warm-up. And then you'll have a Big Ideas Chapter 2 review to go over once you're done with our warm-up. So if I could have you guys open up your warm-up. It is about 7 questions. It is not a quiz per se. It's only called a quiz because it's multiple choice. But I will be working through these problems with you. So what I need you guys to do is pause this video real quick and set up a split screen, meaning one half of your screen should be your quiz and the other half should be this video. That way you can see me working through these problems with you to help you understand and review a little bit, and it'll help you with your Big Ideas assignment. So please take a second to open up your quiz and then set up your screen with a split screen. Perfect. Hopefully you now have your split screen ready. And you can now begin to follow along with me as I work through these problems. So number 1 is asking us, an open circle is used for which of the following symbols? So an open circle. When do we use an open circle? Keep in mind, you guys, we are only going to be using an open circle when we are graphing inequalities that are less than or greater than. So when we have less than or greater than, that is when we are going to be using an open circle on our graph. So in other words, an open circle is going to be used for the inequalities without the or equal to part to it. So again, this is just less than, this is just greater than. All right. And that will lead us into our second question about when we use a closed circle. For what symbols will we use a closed circle for on our graph? So if we're using an open circle for less than or equal to, or the symbols without the or equal to, it makes sense now that we're going to use a closed circle for less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. So in other words, a closed circle is used for the inequality symbols with the or equal to. So one more time, when we have the symbols with this line under, or the or equal to part, we are going to use a closed circle. When we don't have that line or the or equal to part, we are going to use an open circle. Again, we should be following along and answering our warm-up questions as I am going through this video. Let's go ahead and look at number 3 and see if we can try practicing graphing some of these inequalities and trying to figure out what types of circles we can use on our graph. So number 3 is telling us that x is less than or equal to 4. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my number line. Now keep in mind, our inequality has the number 4 in it. So that is going to be the number that I put on my number line, because that is our important number that's part of our inequality. Now looking at our inequality symbol, this says less than or equal to. This or equal to part at the bottom of our symbol that's what's going to tell us that we're using a closed circle. Remember, we're using a closed circle whenever we have that or equal to part. So I'm going to draw a closed circle on 4. And because I want the numbers less than or equal to 4, I want to shade all the numbers less than or equal to 4. So I'm going to shade to the left. Now I can't leave my graph like this. I do need to remember to add this arrow, because that will indicate that we are shading on forever and ever, so that we can shade all of the numbers less than or equal to 4. So remember, when we are graphing, we are going to use a closed circle and we are going to shade to the left. All right. Let's go ahead and look at number 4 and get a little bit more practice. Number 4 tells us that x is greater than 3. Again, I'm going to draw my number line. And remember that 3 is part of our inequality, so that is going to be the number that I plot on my number line. Again, the type of circle we use will be based on the inequality symbol that we have. That line under, or that or equal to part, is not here. So we are now going to use an open circle because we have a symbol without the or equal to. So there's no little line. So that indicates that we are going to use an open circle on 3. And again, our symbol tells us greater than 3. So I'm going to shade the numbers greater than 3, meaning I will shade to the right. And I'm going to remember to put my arrow. So again, when we see this inequality, x is greater than 3, I am going to use an open circle and I will shade to the right. Perfect, you guys. Please pause the video anytime you need to make sense of the questions and the steps that I'm taking, since I'm not here to answer your questions live for you. Let's go ahead and look at number 5. So number 5 says, when you multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides of an inequality, you must reverse the inequality symbol. And it's asking if this sentence is true or false. First, I want to underline the important parts of this sentence. So it's saying only when we multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides of an inequality, you must reverse the inequality symbol. So that's saying, guys, if we're multiplying or dividing both sides of an inequality that has a less than inequality and we divide by a negative number, we have to flip this around and turn it into a greater than. So the answer to this statement being true or false is that this is true. This is the biggest difference between solving inequalities and solving equations. So we can go ahead and get some practice with that in our next question. So for problem number 6, problem number 6 tells us negative 2x plus 8. Let me leave some room for my inequality symbol. So negative 2x plus 8 is greater than or equal to 20. Remember, our goal is to isolate x. So I'm going to get rid of this plus 8 first. And I'm going to do that by using the inverse of addition, which is subtraction. So I will subtract 8 from both sides. That will now leave me with 2x, or negative 2x is greater than or equal to 12. Recall that negative 2x is the same thing as multiplication, so it's technically negative 2 times x. So to get this x on its own, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. Keep in mind what I had just said. I'm telling myself I am dividing both sides of my inequality by a negative number. So that should indicate to us that we now need to flip our inequality symbol. We need to reverse it. So first we had a greater than or equal to. Now we flipped it and we have a less than or equal to. Leaving us with x is less than or equal to negative 6. Alright. We have one more problem on our warm-up that will give us a little bit more practice. So number 7 tells us we have 4x plus 5 is less than or equal to 2x minus 25. Keep in mind, guys, this number 7 is a little bit different than number 6. Notice that we do have 2 variables, and notice they are on both sides of the inequality symbol. So you've seen this before in solving equations, where we need to choose one to eliminate, because we only want to work with variables on one side. Take a second to try to remember that hint that we gave you. That will help you make it easier to decide which variable to eliminate, and it will make it easier for you to solve after. So the easiest way to do that is always to eliminate the smaller variable. So in this case, our smaller one is the 2x. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2x from both sides. So 4x minus 2x will leave me with positive 2x plus 5 is less than or equal to negative 25. Now this looks very similar to number 6. So my first step is going to be to subtract 5 from both sides, since subtraction is the inverse of this addition. Now don't get mixed up yet. This minus 5 may look like a negative number on both sides, but keep in mind we are only subtracting and not multiplying or dividing, so there's no need to flip our symbol around. So this is going to leave us with a positive 2x is less than or equal to negative 30. Again, this is multiplication, so I will divide both sides by 2. Again, I am dividing by a positive number, so there is no reason to flip our inequality symbol, so it can stay just the way it is. And that is going to leave me with x is less than or equal to negative 15. Alright. At this point, go ahead and pause the video if you need to go back and look at our work that we did for all of the other questions, and then go ahead and submit your warm-up. Now that we have all submitted our warm-up, I will now show you guys how to get to your Big Ideas assignment. To get to our Big Ideas assignment, we should be going to lbschools.net. And that is how you're going to get to your student portal, by hovering over students and going to your student portal. I will go now to my portal. And this is my portal. And if your Big Ideas, if you haven't used it recently, then it won't show up here. If it does not show up, you're going to go ahead and go to Applications at the bottom here. Applications. And you'll see Big Ideas there. You can go ahead and click on it. If you come across this login page, there's no need to type in anything. We're going to go ahead and click on Log in with Clever. So again, don't type anything. Go ahead and click on Log in with Clever. It will log you in and it'll bring you to Big Ideas. You will find the Big Ideas assignment in Assignments. And then you can go ahead and press Begin or Enter or whatever button you have. But before that, I do want to show you guys a few things that will help you on this assignment. The first one being how to graph. So this looks a little funky, the way Big Ideas has laid it out for you guys. But we had just gone over deciding what circle that we want to use and which direction we should shade. So our options here is telling us that we can either graph two circles, both closed, one open, or both open. Or we can graph circles with an arrow shading in either direction, right? So we found out that if we have this symbol greater than, that indicates an open circle, and shading to the greater than 4 means we're going to shade to the right. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my open circle shading to the right, and I'm going to click on 4, and it will move my graph option to the graph in the box. Let's suppose I clicked on this option instead. Let's suppose I clicked this option instead, and I don't like this option and I want to change it. You need to click on this trash can and then click on the blue graph. Then you can go ahead and select the real answer and change your graph. Alright. One last thing before I let you guys work independently on your asynchronous assignment. Number 1 is asking you to write the sentence as an inequality. That means that your answer in this box should look something like this. So it has a variable, an inequality symbol, and a number. So when you type in this box, you guys, this keyboard right here only has less than or greater than. So in order to find a keyboard with the less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, we're going to go to Basic, and we're going to scroll down to this third keyboard option, and it will now give you all 4 options to type into the solution box. Alright, those are the 2 biggest things I wanted to remind you guys of on your Big Ideas assignment. So you are now able to spend the rest of our Zoom period to work on your asynchronous assignment, which should be due or submitted by our next class on Friday. Good luck on this assignment, guys, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.